All right, everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm so delighted to inform us again that we're starting another series. This time around, we are focusing on containers. All right. Now, before now, we've seen how to set up our servers, how to run applications. I mean, in the last video that I dropped, which is a TD tier project, we actually saw how we can, set up different services, right? We looked at EFS, we looked at the EC2, we looked at autoscaling group, and we're able to set up a WordPress website. Now, in this series, what we want to look at is how can we take this application and package it in such a way that we do not have to install anything on the server itself other than what you can refer to as a container runtime. That is what we're going to be looking at in this series. Now, one of the popular, when you're talking about containers in DevOps today, there's no way you are not going to talk about Docker. Okay. And in this series, we want to try as much as possible to give us an understanding of what Docker is, the importance of Docker, how is it different from virtualization, what is the benefit of Docker, and all of that. I mean, today, I actually, published an article talking about the importance of using Docker in the CI/CD pipeline, which means your build, all the stages that you want to build, maybe in Jenkins or your GitLab CICD, you can actually leverage Docker containers to run your jobs at every stage. All right, or at each of the stages. Okay, so in the series that we want to be looking at now, we're going to be talking about Docker essentially, right? How do you install it? How do you use it? Okay, we're going to be talking about, how do we create an image? How do we start a container? How do you even, start writing what you call a Docker file? We're going to talk about the basics, the essentials of all of these things. All right, and then we'll delve into a project at the end of the day where we can see how to set up Docker, how to use Docker to basically set up the WordPress application that we saw in the last video. All right. And then from there, of course, we move on to other subjects. So in today's video, I just wanted to give us, an introduction, all right, to Docker. And we're going to be delving into it, pretty much. From Monday, we're going to be releasing videos almost every day talking about the different aspects of Docker that I believe it is important for us to know. Is that okay? So let's just take a look at some, the definition of Docker actually. Now here it says Docker is a set of platform as a service product that used OS level virtualization to deliver software in packages called containers. Now, really, to give us an understanding of what Docker is, I think it'll be good for us to just, do a little bit of an experiment to understand, what we're really talking about, right? So now we've seen the definition here, the theoretical definition, that it is a set of platform as a service product that use OS level virtualization to deliver software in packages called containers. Okay, so which means you don't have to set up a VM, so to say, but of course your application can run, all right, as small packages, right? Like those suites that you take and then you just unwrap them and then you take them in. You can have your packages in such, wrappers, right? That is basically what we're saying here. But of course, I just wanted to practically demonstrate to us the importance of Docker and the problem that it actually solves. Is that okay? Now, work with me. For example, let me show you something here. Now, here on my terminal, I have a Node.js, software installed, and the version I have on my physical system is version 22.7.0. Is that okay? All right. Now, I want to do something. So let's go to AWS and let's start up 2 instances. All right. Just follow me. Now, here, I'm going to launch 2 instances. So one is going to be Amazon Linux, and the other is going to be an Ubuntu server. All right. So let's just call these Docker AWS. Just an example. So just give us an idea of the problem, that Docker actually is helping us to solve. So Amazon Linux, I don't need to do anything much here. I can select my key pair, edit my zone, select the VPC, I mean, it should be in the public subnet. So existing security group, all right, that should be the default security group. Okay, let me go with GP2 and let's launch the instance. Now that is, all right, an Amazon Linux instance. Is that okay? So let's go back and launch another instance. This time around, that's going to be an Ubuntu instance. Okay, just follow me. I want to show something. So Docker will say Ubuntu. Okay, so come here and select Ubuntu. Of course, we're using the latest version of Ubuntu. So T2 Micro, the key pair is, I mean, what we already have. So edit your network setting, make sure you choose the correct network, existing security group, and I mean, just go with your default security group, GP2, and launch your instance. Now, one thing I want us to look at together is this. So on my local system, I already showed us, I mean, if I do node-v, okay, I already saw here that I'm using, all right, I have node 22.7 installed, which means I can run, I mean, npm install, npm whatever, all right? I mean, if you followed the GitLab CICD 0 to hero series, I'm sure you're aware of what I'm talking about, right? Because we use the Node.js application to, to basically learn GitLab CICD, all right? So now, I wanted to just pay attention to what I'm showing you. Now, on my local system, the node version I have is 22.7, okay? So now let's log into each of these, EC2 instances, and let's find out what version of node is available on these instances. Is that okay? So I'm going to click here, on the AWS first, go to security. All right, so let's check our security group, just to be sure that we have port 22 opened up. So we don't have it opened up, so I'm going to open that and edit that. Okay, and so I'm going to go to inbound rule, edit inbound. I'm going to delete this, and I'm just going to add, SSH, right? Sorry, SSH. So from anywhere, for what we're doing, so save rules. All right, so now since the two instances are on the same security group, so I don't think I need to change anything here. So that has also been effected. All right, so let's log into the first one. So I'm going to click here and connect. You already know the drill. So SSH client, come here, and I'm going to open up my terminal, right? So CD download, that's where my key is. I'm going to put it here, all right? And I'm going to say yes, okay? So now this is Amazon Linux 2023. So I'm going to rename the tab, all right, with that name. So Amazon Linux, all right? So I'm going to rename that tab like that. So clear my screen. So let's go back to the second instance. So let's log in into that as well. So connect SSH client, all right, open another tab, all right, or open another terminal, depending on what you're using. Okay, so go to where your key is, and then you, all right, log in into your instance. Is that okay? So clear your screen. Now on the Amazon Linux, I want to show us something. Now, if I do yum, all right, search, and I say I'm looking for Node.js, pay attention to what we're going to have. So let's pay attention to that. All right. Now, look at what we have here. So on the Amazon Linux, if I want to install Node.js on my Amazon Linux, the version I will get from the yum repository by default is, all right, look at this, version 20 point. Okay, now on my local system, I have what? I have 22.7. So if I wanted to install Node.js on this Amazon Linux from the yum package manager repository, I'm going to have Node.js version 20 installed. Is that okay? All right. Now let's go to Ubuntu. So I'm going to do sudo, all right, apt update. On Ubuntu machine, you have to update your package manager before you can actually install anything. Okay, so that's the way of Ubuntu. So let's look at the version that we're going to have on the Ubuntu machine. So the package manager has been updated. So now if I do apt search, okay, Node.js. So let's look at the version that we have here. So I'm going to scroll up and look for Node.js. All right, so let's scroll up a bit. We have a lot of Node here, but what we're looking for basically is just the Node.js itself. So let's see. I think I've gone past the Node.js. Let me just scroll up a bit. All right, I think I've gone past. So let me scroll back again. So now look at this. This is Node.js. Now look at the version. This version is what? 18.191. Do you understand that? So again, on my local machine, I have 22.7 installed. All right. On Ubuntu, if I'm to install Node.js right now, what I will have is what? Version 18.19.1. Okay. And on Amazon Linux, what I will have is what? Is version 20. Now, what is the problem in that? And I'm sure that's going to be a good question. Now, if we're not using Docker, this is what is going to happen. Now, take this example. You have a developer or a development team, and they're working on a project, and of course, they've decided that they're going to build the application using Node.js. Just an example. Now, based on the frameworks and other things that they will use, they decided to build the application, let's say with Node.js 18, for example. Okay, so they picked Node.js 18, the frameworks and everything is backward compatible with Node.js 18. I mean, they've been building everything, is working fine and all of that. Now, they complete the package, all right, the application, they hand it over to you to test run. Now, on your own local machine, you are running Node.js version 22. Now, obviously, if you take that application and run it here, you might run into an error. Okay, because don't forget, when an application is built with a particular version, it is always advisable to stick with that version when you're deploying to your production environment, because some of the frameworks, all right, and dependencies that they have used to build that application may not, all right, work well with newer versions of that same application. So you have to stick with the version 18, for example. But now if you take that version here, you might run into an error because on your own system, you are using version 22. Now, if you take that same application and go to the Amazon Linux that has version 20, there may be a slight error as well, because the application was built with Node 18, and then here you're using Node 20, right? So that's going to be a little challenge. Okay, because the developers will show you that, oh, this thing is working on our system, we have tested it, everything is working fine. But on your own system, you are running into an error. Okay, because the Node application, you have it installed, but one or more of the dependencies that they have used to build that application may not be working well, okay, with the version of Node that you have on your system. So at the end of the day, you have conflict. Okay, so you now have to either you install the Node 18 on your own system to make sure that it's compatible with what they have used to build that application, or perhaps they will have to upgrade or update the version that they have used to build the application. So that is actually the problem that Docker helps us to solve, right? So if my developers build this application with Node 18, for example, right, I don't have to worry, because all we need to do is to bundle that application into what you call, all right, an image. Of course, we have to write a Docker file, and in the Docker file, we specify the exact version that we want to use to, all right, build our image eventually. And then on each of the systems, so on my own system, all I need to have is the Docker runtime. In the production environment, all that needs to be installed is the Docker runtime. On the developer's machine, all they have to install is what? Is the Docker runtime. Okay, so when you have the Docker runtime installed, you don't have to worry about, oh, I have Node 22 installed locally, you are using Node 18. No, all we need is just to define a Docker file, and then exact version that we need was specified in the file, okay, and then we're able to run our application. That is what Docker solves for us. So if you look at this example, for example, all right, this example right here, this is a simple Docker file that basically uses Node 22. So all we need to do is to take this file, build an image from the file, and then run it, all right, in any environment that has the Docker runtime installed, right? So with this now, we don't have to worry about, oh, you are using this version, I'm using this version. So that platform disparity has actually been taken care of by Docker. Is that okay? So we're going to be learning all of this, but I just thought to do this introductory video to give us an understanding of what Docker is, the problem it solves, and how important it is in, the DevOps, all right, space. Okay, so it's something you want to know, it's something you want to know how to use, it's something you want to really, really master. Because if you want to, for example, if you want to focus on Kubernetes, for example, right, you cannot, successfully be a Kubernetes administrator when you do not understand containers. Right? So container knowledge is something that is very important. So in order for you to do well as a Kubernetes administrator, if that is the area you want to settle on, then having a good understanding of containers, it's very essential. Okay, so in the series that we're starting, all right, I mean, this is just an introductory video, but from Monday, we're going to be releasing, all right, videos that will just touch on different aspects of Docker from the very basics, and then we wrap it up, all right, with a project. Okay, so thanks so much, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.